Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. I'm Dylan. Joining me as always, Ben and Cam. And this week, to get in the mood for the holidays, we're watching Elf. We haven't done it yet. We've done some other ones that you can go check out. We've done Santa Claus, National Lampoon, Die Hard, hello, Home Alone. But to kick things off and get everybody in the right mood, we're going to go to this week's cocktail. We're doing the New York Sour. The film takes place in New York, and we're bourbon boys. So to make a New York Sour, you need 2 ounces of rye or bourbon, 1 ounce of lemon juice, 1 ounce of simple syrup, and then a quarter of an ounce of red wine, and you're going to float that on top, and you get this little, ombre? Is that the right word I'm trying to go for here?
A gradient?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it called that, an ombre before.
But yeah, you get a little gradient of like the red wine. Hopefully, if you pour it off the back of the bar spoon correctly, it'll float on top. You get that nice like layered gradient between the red wine and your drink. This is my first time having one. I know some people make it with like Welch's as well on top, just like grape juice, but it's good. It's very sour from the name, also the lemon juice, but it's good. I don't dislike it. And I think it's just similar. It's not just the same recipe as like a regular whiskey sour. Just float on the red wine.
I can't. Was there egg white in this one?
No, but don't some people make whiskey sours without egg white?
I mean, yes, that you can absolutely.
I'd say most people do.
Yeah.
Even though
let's be honest.
Good that way.
Most people make it with whiskey and a sour mix. So like.
Yeah. Exactly.
Most people aren't making it traditionally, but.
It's weird because I feel like that's a drink that is like either very trashy or very highbrow. And there's not really much in between. Like it's like you can make it with sweet and sour mix, or you can make it with egg white and lemon, and which is much, much better, by the way.
You can float a nice fancy red wine, or you can go ahead and float on some Welch's grape juice.
Well, I just feel like it's like if you're going to a wedding and they're serving whiskey sours, you're getting sweet and sour mix with like
for sure
whatever the bottom shelf whiskey they have is. You're not getting like they're not slinging drinks back.
If you get a whiskey sour with that mix in it, you should definitely get it with bottom shelf anyway. Like there's no reason to do anything different.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, okay, so I've only ever been like corrected one time in my life ordering a drink, and it was in a whiskey bar in Kentucky, and I was like, oh, I want to do like the whiskey sour with this whiskey, and he was like, no, you need to do it with the house whiskey that we already have in there. It's just much better that way. It's like, all right, man, you're the boss. So he like purposefully like stopped me from ordering like too high. It wasn't like that even high, I don't think, but he stopped me from like ordering up a whiskey, if that makes sense, and just doing it with the regular. And it was good. So he was right.
Although his attitude sucked, so Cameron left a terrible Yelp review.
It's not true. Not true. I may have embellished that a bit, but he was like
0 stars. I wanted good whiskey. They made me drink house.
Their house whiskey was good, though. Their house whiskey was legit good. I mean, we're talking about a whiskey bar in Kentucky.
I was going to say, it's a whiskey bar in Kentucky. The house is probably made in the back. It's probably delicious.
And you can tell these were all whiskey dudes because they had the mustaches and they had the leather aprons. So it was legit. It was the only time I've ever been corrected, but it was gentle. It was a nice like you shouldn't do that type of thing, I was like, all right, I appreciate that. Thanks. Just give me what you think is best then.
I feel like there's a lot of cocktails that you could probably go like a step down if you wanted. Like you could probably go with I don't know, what's like a cheaper bourbon? I'm trying to think like
Jim Beam.
Yeah, like you could go with like a Jim Beam for most things. I feel like when you get into like an old fashioned
for mixed drinks, yeah.
Like an old fashioned realm, you want to like go up a little bit. You want to get like a Four Roses or something a little.
But not even too much. I feel like you'll get scoffed at if you try and do a really high whiskey in an old fashioned. Because once you get up to that level, it's like people are really just like trying to drink the whiskey straight.
Yeah, you're not getting all of the tasting notes if you're
Right.
mixing it. That's
Yeah.
it's like they say with vodka. Is like if you're gonna mix it, just buy it cheap because like obviously make sure it actually still reads vodka on the bottle. Don't buy like the absolute dredge, but like Smirnoff is fine if you're gonna be mixing it. Like you don't need to buy super high end alcohol.
I don't
don't
think
have
I
to
would
go for
ever buy
Grey Goose.
super high end vodka ever. It just like once you hit a certain point, it's not really worth it. I will say at that same place, this is a twofer on stories. At that same place, they were shitting. One of the guys was shitting on Tito's because Tito's doesn't actually distill their own vodka. They buy it from other places and then they'll like basically like not distill it. Well, maybe that is distilling, but like I should say they don't distill it from grain. So they buy it already distilled from places and then distill it more and then distribute it. So they don't actually even deal with the grain or anything. They're actually importing it from other places. Supposedly, that's what this guy said. I don't know.
Tito's is fine. Obviously,
So a lot of people like.
I don't really care about vodka. Like I'm not like
Mm-mm.
that's my alcohol, but I've never
No,
tasted one
vodka's
that's
a
been
fine-
better than the other ones.
Vodka's a fine neutral spirit for mixed drinks, and that's about it. I wouldn't. There's no reason to up it. Unless you literally have like Popov in there, I don't really care what kind of vodka you're putting.
That's
we're
not
doing
even vodka.
Vodka's
That's
Or
swill.
Burnett's.
That's swill.
Maybe
That's not
Burnett's
even-
too, you know?
I don't
like-
think Popov is allowed to put the word vodka on their labels. I think they just have to label it Popov adult beverage.
If you want to make a New York sour, check the show notes below. Get yourself some alcohol delivered directly to your door. We get a little kickback from that. You can check out Elf as a recording on Max. So check it out because we're going to spoil the movie if you haven't seen it before, which would be really weird.
Kind of strange.
Elf is a 2003 family comedy film directed by Jon Favreau, written by David Birnbaum, stars Will Ferrell, James Caan, Bob Newhart, Edward Asner, Mary Steenburgen, Peter Dinklage is in there, Andy Richter, Kyle Gass, Zooey Deschanel. Raised as an oversized elf, Buddy travels from the North Pole to New York City to meet his biological father, Walter Hobbs, who doesn't know he exists and is in desperate need of some Christmas spirit. Currently sits at a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb. I hadn't seen it until not too long ago, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah, not really. We didn't watch a lot of Christmas movies growing up.
Been like fun.
I think we've talked about this before, but my dad.
You didn't like fun?
Yeah, exactly. No, my mom and dad literally just watched Elf before we started recording this movie. Like my dad's hadn't watched it, so.
Funny.
Yeah, so I think the first time I watched it, either my wife made me watch it, or we did go to see they did like a drive-in when we first moved to Atlanta. They did a drive-in. It was Elf and Die Hard double feature, and so we went and watched that. That might have been the first time I watched it. I'm not too sure.
Wow.
I think the first time I watched this was freshman or sophomore year of college.
Wow. I feel like I definitely watched this movie at least in high school.
I feel like Cameron might have definitely been one of the people who made me have to watch it in college.
Look, you got the privilege of watching it then, if that's the case. I mean, it came out in 2003, so it's been out for a long time.
He didn't walk out mid-movie on this one.
No,
Not
he
this
didn't.
one.
He didn't make us watch it and then leave as soon as the fucking
right.
opening credits ended.
I still contend that Spaceballs is worth the watch, regardless of if I'm present to watch it with you.
No,
Wait, what movie
No.
is made better
No.
if Cameron is
No.
in the audience with you? when
it's
you're
not
watching?
about that. It's not about that. It's that there were a group of people trying to decide what to watch. Only one person was super adamant about what we had to watch. Then that fucking person left immediately as soon as the movie started.
I will say, to my defense, it is like someone's got to decide, you know? Like if everybody says, "Yeah, I don't really care."
No, there were discussions about what to watch. one person was adamant that it had to be Spaceballs, and then
But it's
that
such a
person
great
just
movie.
fucked off as soon as the movie started.
Look, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, you know? Clearly, that was not the memorable part for me of that
Well,
time.
no shit, it wasn't memorable for you. You didn't watch the fucking movie.
Oh my god. That is funny. Anyway, this movie's great. I've seen this movie a bunch of times. At least 10 times, probably. I probably watch it every year. I was thinking about it a bit today, or yesterday when I watched it. I think that this movie is our generation's, like, Christmas story. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a generation of people who are like, oh, A Christmas Story is, like, the Christmas movie. And, like, that they're obsessed with, and they make their kids watch and everything. I feel like for millennials, that movie's Elf. I feel like so many millennials are like, this is my favorite Christmas movie. Love it. I'm going to show it to my kids, like all that stuff.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, it's kind of like, I mean, it's definitely one that if you kind of grew up in this time, it is, like you said, it's a rotation every year. Like, it's an annual viewing kind of movie around Christmas. I mean, definitely for my wife.
Don't know if you guys are watching in-season Hard Knocks with the Miami Dolphins, but this movie was on Raheem Mostert's top 3.
Wow. Top 3 movies of all time?
Top 3 Christmas movies.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah.
What?
I mean, this is definitely top 3 Christmas movie.
I don't think it was number 3. I think it was like maybe 1 or 2, but I can't remember.
What were the other
it's
two?
It's top 3 and it ain't 3.
Do you remember the other two, Ben?
I think A Christmas Story was one of them. And then I can't remember.
I Will Die on the Rock. I can't
remember what the other one was.
You'll Die on the Rock?
I Will Die on the Rock.
The Hill?
The Hill, the Rock, whatever.
I'll die on the Rock Johnson. I'm going to climb that man and then die.
I Will Die on Alcatraz. Christmas Story is the worst Christmas movie of all time.
It's not good. I think it's boring. Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of boring. You shoot your eye out, kid.
I Will Die on that Hill. It is awful.
I don't think it's that good either.
I'm just. I don't know if I should drop the bomb yet that I don't like Elf that much.
Wow.
I was going to segue.
You should keep that in your pocket and not bring it up.
Okay, I was going to segue.
And then when we stop recording, you can talk about it.
Okay. I love this movie.
Hey,
perfect. That's exactly what I wanted.
You're not the only one.
Oh wow.
I don't know what it is, like why I never watched this one. I'm not a big Will Ferrell fan. I'm gonna lead with that. Like, you know, Step Brothers is fine. I don't know. I just I don't really like Will Ferrell. I don't like his like humor. It's kind of like a little slapsticky, a little too goofy for me a lot of the times. And I'm not like a huge fan of a lot of his movies, and so I feel like what kind of like kept me away from Elf was Will Ferrell. I will say I think this movie it's okay. It's good. I think the thing with a lot of Christmas movies is they kind of just like lean on like, oh, like it's the season and it's like this feeling, I feel like, more so than like the story being good or like the plot being good. I will say Elf for me is kind of like Christmas Vacation, where there's like it doesn't really matter about the story as much. Like there's good jokes and gags and it's pretty funny. This is one I'm fine to watch it every year. But when it's always on, I'm just kind of like, I don't want to watch Elf for like the 5th time. It's good once or twice a year, and you kind of like go back to it.
Oh yeah,
oh yeah, that's funny. You know,
do you usually watch multiple Christmas movies the same, like in a year, like multiple times?
With my wife, she starts after Halloween, so.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. First off,
there's not that many Christmas movies, Cameron.
I guess, but man, yeah, well, because like that's just a difference in like I don't watch movies like that. Like I will definitely watch Elf or other movies once, and I'll be like, all right, that's cool for this year. Good.
Well, this year too has been different because like Hannah would just go on YouTube TV and like go on Freeform, and it'll be like, what's on? So I've seen like Home Alone. at least once all the way through, and then seen like bits and pieces of it again. And like Home Alone 2 has been on, some bits pieces, and then Santa Claus, has been on. So it's like I'm seeing I'm seeing like all these movies that are fine. I'll watch them once a year, and then like we've been seeing and catching like so many bits and pieces of them, and I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, I'm oversaturated. I'm like a child. I'm like a toddler when I'm done with playtime. Like overstimulated. Too many Christmas movies. We're good. I'm about to start crying.
Outside of this movie for the pod this year, I haven't really watched any Christmas movies this year. And I will say I think it's kind of the calm before the storm, because my son is not at that point of like sitting down and actually being invested in watching movies. I have a feeling next year's going to be a lot more of like watching some sort of Christmas movie on repeat. But yeah, I have not, thank God, have not really watched a ton.
Right.
I'll normally do like the Rankin and Bass, Rudolph and Santa Claus is Coming to Town once a year. Die Hard, I don't have to watch it at Christmas time. I could watch that movie any time of year. But yeah, I haven't really been like, oh, I gotta watch this one. My wife was she watched a trailer for one of those cheesy Hallmarky holiday Christmas movies today, and she's like, oh, that looks great. No, I don't do it. I think I'm sure next year will be a year where like we kind of get into that starting of like, hey, maybe we'll find some sort of tradition movie to watch, or however we want to do things. But we weren't really a big holiday movie family growing up. I mean, my dad's the type of person that if Die Hard was on, he'd definitely flip back to it between commercial breaks on whatever else he was watching. But I don't think there was ever like we watched this movie every year, or, we always watch this Christmas movie, which I think is probably why Elf just never really made the list for us to really watch. What's weird is I really like Will Ferrell, but I don't know. For me, this movie just doesn't hit. It's kind of mid for me. I don't know.
I think if you don't like Elf, you don't really like Christmas movies that much, in my opinion. Which I think is fine. Like, I think that's fine. But, like, I don't know. I think which I'm not saying I love Christmas movies, but I think if you watch this and you're like, yeah, that was all right, I feel like you just don't like Christmas movies that much, like, as a genre.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. I saw James Caan, and maybe this was like Will Ferrell telling this story, but one of them said that like at the premiere of the film, James Caan had told Will Ferrell like, oh, like I didn't really like your performance when we were like filming this movie. Like I thought you were way too over the top. And then after viewing the movie was like, oh wait, no, I have a whole new respect for your performance. Like you did a great job. You needed to be this over the top to make it that convincing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of maybe where it lies for me, is that like Will Ferrell is so over the top, like I'm an elf, that it kind of like just grates your gears sometimes. I don't know. That's just my.
Oh yeah.
I think that's...
I mean, it's supposed to be, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like that naivety of like, I don't know anything because I'm an elf. Like I haven't ever been in the human world before, and I think that's funny in the bit where like when he comes to New York and there's all that like like my first time in New York kind of stuff. Where
like,
he's,
oh my God, congratulations! The world's best cup of coffee. You did it.
Like that is good. Like it kind of makes sense there. It's funny. I just feel like some bits are like, yeah, it's like trying so hard to be like, this is Christmas. I love Christmas. I'm an elf, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it.
That is, I was struggling to try to figure out how to put that. And I think that's exactly, like, I get it. And, that's my thing is like, as a fan of Will Ferrell, I feel like this is one of his most like over the top characters where like, and again, it needs to be, and the commitment needs to be there, but like just sometimes it's just like, okay, for me sometimes it just gets kind of tiresome. It's like, okay, like I'm kind of ready for I would love this character as like a sketch character that you see like once or twice a year. But it seems like it's one of those sketch characters that then turned into a movie, and it was like, it's a little long.
I'll draw the comparison. Cam, you may be there soon. Your child starts to walk, and or crawl, and you're chasing them around the house for like 3 hours. And like when you pick them up and you put them back down, they're like getting upset that you won't let them like dig in the cat food. It's kind of like that, where you just need a break after about 30 minutes of Buddy the Elf. That's my comparison of like, I just need to sit in the corner with nothing on and just breathe for 2 seconds. No
Nothing
stimulus. Yeah, just no stimulus.
I just need to sit in the corner naked for 10 minutes.
A deprivation chamber.
Yeah, I
Just sit in a cold, dark room by myself.
I need to go on a darkness retreat for a little bit.
I have decided I will continue playing the podcast.
Listen to some dolphin sex noises. Get myself prepared to come back to the season.
I feel like I've said this probably about every Christmas movie we've done. It's fine. I chuckle, I laugh. There's parts that I do enjoy. And I don't want to sound like a Grinch or like a pessimist. Like it's a fine movie.
Well, so let me ask this question. What Christmas movies do you like better?
Christmas Vacation. That's my all-time.
That's fair.
That's the one I will watch every year. I saw TNT is doing like a 24 hours of a Christmas Vacation. I was like, that's too much.
It's a lot.
It's not
a lot of anything.
It's not a Christmas Story. Like, that's fine. I may not like A Christmas Story. I get showing it for 24 hours. Like, whatever. It's so beloved. Everyone I feel like who's older than me probably freaking loves that movie. Like, my parents who don't even watch Christmas movies will reference A Christmas Story, be like, oh, like Ralphie and his big old bunny costume, and that, like, I'm like, okay. Like, I get showing A Christmas Story 24 hours on Christmas Day or like right next to it. Christmas Vacation, I like it. It's good. Doesn't need to be shown on repeat. No.
So for me, I wouldn't even consider myself that much of a fan of the genre. I do like this movie a lot. I actually kind of, and that's one of the reasons I enjoy those old, stop motion pictures, is because they are shorter. Like, I watched Charlie Brown Christmas recently.
That one's good.
On the same day, I think, or maybe the day before. And like, it was good, but it was nice that it was only like 30 minutes.
I feel like you couldn't really sit. That's like what the one that Ben loves, Rankin and Bass.
The Rankin and Bass ones?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those ones are super
that's what I was
short too, right?
that's what I was referring to. Yeah, as the stop motion pictures is, yeah, they're really short, and they have some bops, like,
I will say, I will 100% go out of my, so you could tell me like there's a Christmas movie, it's 2 hours long, and I would be like, hey Ben, here's like 6 holiday themed TV, like Christmas TV show episodes, and it's gonna take about 3 hours of your day. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. I'm all for it. I would much rather watch, like, I'm trying to think which, like, I know obviously like Simpsons, South Park's. I'll watch those holiday episodes more than I'll watch Christmas movies.
I would rather watch Christmas movies than like Christmas themed episodes of shows.
I think The Simpsons has some really good ones.
I think it's like I think that's fine. Like, animated ones are probably a lot better, but
I think
like
it's
if it's
just
like a
because,
sitcom or something,
Oh,
and then they're like, oh, it's Christmas time.
Those are bad.
Yeah,
it would
they're
have
always
to be for those. I feel like it has to be a sitcom. Like, I enjoy watching to make sense.
You have to be devoted to the.
Most of the time, it's more like animated, because they're a lot more of those shows. You don't have to know a ton of what's going on. I feel like even in sitcoms anymore, like, you have to know what's going on in the series to actually enjoy what they're doing for the holiday episode. But yeah, I will 100% like, oh, I'll do a run of like the South Park Christmas specials of just like the random 30-minute. And I think it's because after 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for I'm ready for this to switch up.
Yeah.
But I can't. Yeah, that's the thing is after a while, that's again, it's the same reason I love the Rudolph. It feels like a full movie, but then you're like, oh shit, that was only like 45 minutes. Cool. All right.
I was gonna bounce off of Cam's question of like, I know you said what Christmas movies do you think are better? What are we've got a Mount Rushmore of Christmas movies. What are we putting up there?
For me, this movie is up there. Like, for me, this movie's on that list. Especially like as a modern classic, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a movie. I was gonna say in the past 20 years, but this movie's almost that old, or is almost older than that. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a movie that came out in the past 20 years that surpasses this movie in terms of like staying power for a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I will say, even if it's not like my favorite movie, I give it. I mean, I have to give it props because yeah, I think it definitely earns that place because yeah, I can't think of. Although I will also say I can't really think of a major studio Christmas movie in like the comedy light-hearted genre that has come out in the past 20 years.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like they either fall into the rom-com realm or they fall into the parody / violence realm, which is kind of strange. Like Violent Night came out a couple years ago, and that movie was really fun.
Or they're very like kid and family oriented.
Yeah, like they came out with a new Grinch movie. There was the live action Grinch, and then there's the animated Grinch.
The new animated one is good.
Is it kind of? I feel like that one's kind of more kid oriented, though. No,
it's kid,
maybe.
But I feel like it also
I
panders to our age group too. Because
I'm sure it's one of those where like everyone gets something out of it.
Tyler the Creator did the music. Like Pharrell is like the narrator. There's like Brockhampton songs. There's some adult humor.
That's the one with Benedict Cumberbatch, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Scott Mosier, who produced all of Kevin Smith's movies, he was the director on that.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
I don't know if there's an appetite for like straight Christmas movies anymore. Like it's hard because I feel like it's hard to do a fresh concept of something that's been done that they've been doing since like the 50s, or even going back to like It's a Wonderful Life. Just been doing this shit for fucking ever at this point.
Some of it though is they just can't, like they keep rehashing these. Like I think there's another Home Alone movie. Like this is like 5 or 6. It's like what new idea are you gonna bring to Home Alone? The idea's done. Like, all right, give me something new. Or they have like, I'm looking at like these like releases that they have. They have the Santa Clauses show now. I'm like, okay. I do see Claus, which is like an animated movie on Netflix that looks really good ratings.
I remember that.
I haven't seen it. It's got a 4.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Anyway, going back to your original question of Mount Rushmore of Christmas movies, like I said, in my opinion, this movie should be on there since it is like probably the most prolific Christmas movie of the 21st century. I think The Grinch should be on there. I think that one, like that is like one of the most well-known Christmas. I mean, honestly, like as a franchise, but like I'd say the original one maybe. I like the Jim Carrey one personally, but I think in general, I think that one's got to be up there. I mean, he's just like, besides Santa Claus, literally, or maybe Rudolph, like the most prolific
holiday character.
Yeah.
Wow. Man.
Even though I don't like it, I think A Christmas Story has to be up there. I mean, like I said, and you said, I think it's pretty boring, but going back to staying power, it's got to be up there as well. And then if you limit it to 4, it is hard for me to pick one. I don't know what the 4th would be. I think I do think that collection of Rudolph or Year Without Santa Claus, like that as a group of things might be the fourth, but I don't know.
All right. I mean, that's a fine list.
But I forgot about Home Alone too. So it's like, well,
But is Home Alone a Christmas movie?
Oh, it is 100%. Home Alone 1 for sure.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
After watching it for the podcast, I would say yes, but I don't think it's like up on that list.
We had that. We just had that discussion because
Yeah.
Home Alone is the same thing where it's like, is it actually Christmas themed? I mean,
Home Alone definitely leans into the Christmas theme way more than Die Hard does. Like, Home Alone is for sure a Christmas movie. It's like not even a question, to me at least. I've never heard anyone debate whether or not Home Alone is a Christmas movie or not. I've definitely heard people debate about Die Hard.
Live. You're hearing it right.
I mean, it seems kind of contrived, but yes, like, I guess I'm in it right now.
I mean, I just think, okay, so here's the big wrench to throw in with the Mount Rushmore. It's a Wonderful Life. Talk about staying power.
Yeah.
I don't know that I put Miracle on 34th Street in that same vein, but, I mean, It's a Wonderful Life is, Jesus Christ. People still, I mean, it's still shown all the time at Christmas time, and it's referenced all the time. I mean, the amount of pop culture references to that movie is nuts.
How could we forget about Scrooge, though, you know?
That's an easy leave off the list.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it'd be fair to say, like, maybe you have, like, one selection from, like, 40s to the 60s, or, you know, the 60s, and then one selection from, like, the 70s or 80s, one from the 90s, and one from the 2000s or something.
It's a Wonderful Life is the number 46 or 64th film on Letterboxd's top 250 and number 20 on IMDb's top 250. So,
never seen it. I just don't know how much I'd enjoy it.
Jimmy Stewart? I want to live. That's the only thing I know from that movie. That's it.
Wait, have you never seen it, Ben?
No, I'll be honest. I'll say it right now. I'll make the announcement. I've never seen it. I get the references. I know the plot line. I know quotes. Never seen it.
I've never seen it, as I just said, but I don't know how much of an interest I have in seeing it. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I would like it, but I just feel like it's a thing I would like have to be forced to watch.
You know, in Batman the Animated Series, they talk about it, and Robin says it's a movie Batman would love. It all boils down to the story of how one man really can make a difference. Pretty good moral of a story there, you know?
It might be the most, like, awarded Christmas movie. Like, might be the most critically acclaimed Christmas movie to ever come out.
I mean, the fact that it's, I mean, and IMDb's...
It was nominated for Best Picture.
20, I mean...
And nominated for Best Actor. Nominated for Best Director. Nominated for Best Sound and Film Editing. Didn't win any of those.
I feel like maybe the appreciation will grow as I get older, because it does feel like, I don't know, I feel like Buddy will resonate more the older you get, because he has this kind of like childhood like wonder about Christmas and this just like pure joy spirit that I feel like you kind of lose. And that's kind of the theme with, like, you know, his dad is on the naughty list and all this, and he's so dedicated to work, and as you get older you kind of lose the joy of Christmas time. And I feel like, you know, we'll get to grow a new appreciation for Buddy, and it'd be like, yes, like the best way to spread Christmas cheer is to sing loud for all to hear, you know.
I think the fact that I didn't see this movie when it came out and it wasn't a part of, like, formative definitely probably impacts it.
Yeah.
But I will say what you're saying is 100%. I mean, the past couple years, it just seems like Christmas has been more of a logistical situation that's needed solved than it has been like anything to enjoy. And then this year's kind of starting to come back. I don't think Grayson really understands what's going on, but he was visiting with his grandparents last week when we got him one of his Christmas gifts came to the house, so rather than try to wrap it and hide it, we already just kind of put it together for him, and we showed it to him today, and the amount of excitement and fun he had was just like, okay, I can see how, like, starting next year, Christmas is going to seem so much more enjoyable than it is now, especially once he gets more of an understanding of...
You can actually open presents, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of quasi-opened stuff last year in terms of, like, if you started it, he would reach his hand in and try to rip. I think this year he'll probably be good with opening stuff and kind of getting excited about it. But I don't think it really, the whole idea of Santa hasn't set in. I don't think I don't know how much it'll be like the excitement of, like, understanding that, like, this thing that you opened is now just yours. Versus, like, oh, hey, you get to open this toy. It's like, no, man. You get to keep that shit. It belongs to you now. I don't know that that's going to be comprehended. Whereas I think in another year, it'll be like, oh, Santa's coming, and he brings you toys, and, like, he brings you stuff, and it's yours if you're
And he
good.
watches you when you're sleeping.
I might leave that part out. Just for a little bit.
He keeps a list. If you do anything bad, you get on the naughty side. You don't get shit.
Coal. You get
coal.
rocks.
You get
It's actually
rocks.
useful, though.
You know how
Coal is
expensive
actually
coal
a
is?
valuable resource. You don't really
in
get
most, In most resource management games, coal is actually a good thing.
it.
You get charcoal briquettes, and you're gonna like it.
Grill your
You gotta
dad
just
a
come up with
steak,
like
you
a
bad
really,
boy.
you gotta get like a nasty like candy or something that is like a replacement for coal, because that'll be cheap and also awful if they try it.
Necco wafers. Here's some Necco wafers. Good and plenties.
Yes, Necco wafers. Necco
wafers.
wafers are perfect. I think that should taste like nothing.
We had a substitute teacher in high school who always had boxes. Every time he came to substitute, he would bring like a box of Necco wafers, and he'd offer some to everyone.
Who
every
likes that
class.
shit? No, thank you.
Old people? That's why the substitute teacher had it.
My mom loves those.
No thanks.
Yeah.
That shit is terrible.
The worst is he'd sometimes have like just the black licorice kind, and it's like, anyone? No one wants
Yo.
those. Those are the worst kind.
Of
You know
the
how
awful
hard it is?
candy, that
Do
is
you know
the
how
worst.
hard it is to get a bunch of like teenage kids to turn down free candy? Like,
Right.
oh, gross.
There was one part. So after he goes, I mean, maybe I'm wrong on this, but like, so after he is like shouted at by his dad, and he's like, I don't care that you're my son, blah, 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 you need to leave. So he's like walking away, and he's like looking over the bridge, like as he's walking away from the city, and is like, I don't belong anywhere. And my wife turns to me and is like, oh my God, I never realized he was going to kill himself in this moment. And I was like, what? No, he's walking back to the North Pole, I think.
Yeah, I thought so too, but
That he was going to kill himself?
no. That he's just walking back to the North Pole, like that's.
Well, he's like, I don't belong anywhere, is what he says. And he's like looking over the bridge, and you're like, oh my God.
I mean, maybe that is.
I just started laughing. I'm like, I think he's going to the North Pole. I don't think that was in the cards.
Or just like maybe not to
I
the North
never
Pole,
thought
but
he was
just
gonna
like to
kill
hang out.
himself. Man, this Christmas movie is dark.
I mean, it does get kind of dark there for a bit. He's like, I don't belong anywhere. Oh my God.
I belong in hell.
But no, I mean, I think as far as the movie goes, like I said, I think it's really good. I think it's got a lot of like, I think it's funny, but not like, see, to me, I don't think it's even that over the top on a lot of the Christmas stuff. Like, only at the end, I think it gets a little like cheesy for my tastes. Like when Santa comes and they have to like sing and stuff, I'm kind of like, okay, this is not my favorite part of this movie. But I think everything that precedes it is kind of like more straight comedy, I guess.
I think
But
most of that, besides the like cheesy singing, I think a lot of that scene is kind of good and funny. Like when Michael takes the book and he's like reading off everybody's like
yeah.
wish
Mhm.
list, and there's like the dude at the biker bar that wants like a spa.
I mean, the reporter is like, she wants an engagement ring from Tiffany and wants her boyfriend to,
Stop dragging
like,
his feet
whatever.
in committal or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's even before then, like when she's interviewing that random dude and he's like, "Oh, hey, Tiffany," or whatever. He's like, "I love you. I think you're a great reporter. Your eyes really tell the story, and you got a
Yeah.
great mouth." Like you're just like, what the fuck? Like,
Another part is where he's in the mailroom. That's also one of my favorite parts, where he goes into the mailroom and he's like, "Oh, syrup! I love syrup. Can I have some?" And he just downs it all, and then he just like starts talking to that dude, and then starts like dancing on the table or whatever.
you just got to go with the flow. No, I got to get
No,
out of
I
the
gotta
flow.
get out of the flow.
I'm in the flow.
I'm in the flow.
That's how I got in this situation.
That's the problem. I'm in it. I need to get out of it.
I don't know if I need the love interest of Jovi. I don't think it really adds much to it.
Yeah, I think that part's fine. It's not. It's okay.
But like besides her doing the singing at the end, like
yeah, I feel like she's mostly there for the singing part and for the duet, like in the middle of the movie.
which is
kind of
interesting
it.
because I read online that none of that singing was there until they cast Zooey Deschanel,
Oh,
and then they're like, "Oh wait, she sings. She's pretty good. Let's write in some singing."
and then the director, John Favreau, was like the doctor.
Yeah.
Like, congrats, it's a boy.
This is like, and it kind of makes sense because it came out around the same time. But this movie is kind of like Mean Girls in the sense of how much it permeated the pop culture of our like generation.
Yeah.
I feel like anybody who's like around our age will say like, "Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad."
Yeah.
All the time. And I never knew where that was from until I watched this movie, and then I was like, I get the reference now. Or there's the cotton-headed ninny muggins, like all like those sort of I don't want to call them like memes, but like references. Those are things that have like gone beyond Elf, and people just say that all like
You
year
sit on
round.
a throne
It's
of
not even-
lies. That's the one I remember everywhere.
Yeah. Mhm.
You sit on a throne of lies. You're not Santa Claus.
No, and for a lot of those reasons, that's why I think this movie is. And I mean, bring it full circle. I think this movie is our generation's Christmas story. I think this is the one that most millennials are going to make their kids watch for better or worse, and our kids are going to complain about how crappy this movie is compared to whatever movie they like that came out in their time. And that's how it goes.
Ben, what about your boy, Andy Richter's in here? How does that make you
Also,
feel?
Kyle Gass is in here
Yeah,
from
but,
Tenacious D.
but we all know Ben's the Conan guy, so like,
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm always happy when Andy Richter pops up. Don't get me wrong. I love Bob Newhart being in this movie more than Andy Richter being in there. Just I don't know. I think especially because Bob Newhart passed a couple years ago, right? I don't remember what year
It
was that
doesn't.
he had passed.
Did
Or
he?
is he still alive?
No, he died this year
I
in
don't-
April.
It was
Oh.
this year.
Or actually, no, I don't think
It
he's
doesn't
died.
say
His wife
no. It
died.
doesn't say that on IMDb. On
Sorry, his
IMDb,
wife
it does
died
not
in
have a
April.
death. So no, he's still alive. He's like
I thought for some reason he had passed, but he's
he's
No,
90 years old.
He's someone that I
like
just
90 something years
James Caan passed
That's-
away.
okay, I know-
2022.
Yeah. Ed Asner passed away in the last couple of years too. Yeah, just I think seeing those guys doing this kind of lighthearted Christmas movie, I think touches me more than anything else. Of just like, don't get me wrong, they're way before our generation, but just like that appreciation of like, wow, Bob Newhart, this big star. Ed Asner, I remember.
I never realized
Obviously,
he's the
it's the-
voice of Carl in Up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
okay.
never
Yep.
realized it.
Well, and he's, Mermaid Man.
Oh,
Funny.
shit.
I mean, he's just done so much that, like, to see him pop up in this was kind of an interesting.
According to IMDb, though, Ben, Bob Newhart read the script, but he loved the concept of like being in a movie that was going to be watched every year and become a tradition, and that was like part of the big reason that he did it.
I mean, that makes sense to me. 100% makes sense to me.
Oh, this is interesting for your perspective, Dylan. Bob Newhart was also in Young Sheldon.
Wow,
So,
that's really cool.
interesting for you since you're a Young Sheldon fan.
Since Netflix thinks I'm a big Young Sheldon fan, they think that'll bring
Netflix
me
knows
back.
your interests better than you. Oh, we got a new season of Young Sheldon. Don't you want to check this out, Dylan? Don't you want to resubscribe?
Don't you want to pay
Re-up for
$20 a
Young
month to come watch some Young Sheldon
The
season
privilege. Bazinga.
7? Bajango. My wife did tell me. So a lot of those scenes that we were talking about earlier, like when he first gets to New York and he's kind of like running around just being goofy, he's in the Lincoln Tunnel, all that was done with just Jon Favreau, a cameraman, and Will Ferrell, like out in the streets, like doing it like improv style, basically. They said it was like the last day of filming in New York, and just those three went out and they would like run around, do stuff, ask people if they wanted to be like an extra in the movie for like some quick cash, or like the Santa, for instance, that's like the guy that's like jogging in the red suit with the beard. He runs up and he's like, Santa! Like that guy, they just did that on the fly and then went back and were like, hey, can you sign this release and be in this movie and we'll pay you a couple bucks? Like that.
That's funny.
So like that's pretty crazy. And even my dad just watching it, he was like, this movie just feels like stuff that like Will Ferrell would improv, and like like it just seems like, a lot of it is him just messing around. And I was like, yeah, I kind of feel that. And I think Will Ferrell and Adam McKay did do some rewriting on this, if I'm not mistaken. Like they did write some edits in.
Oh, I had read, just while looking through stuff, that this movie went through a couple different, like the original script was written in 1993.
Yeah, and they said that it took like 10 years just to get a studio to like even fund
Then
it.
it was rewritten by Scott Armstrong, who co-wrote Old School, The Hangover Part 2, Semi-Pro, and Road Trip. And Chris Henshey, who had done a lot of other Will Ferrell type movies, Land of the Lost, The Other Guys, and then ended up with also rewrites from Adam McKay and Will Ferrell.
Well, this is also Will Ferrell's like first movie he starred in, which is kind of crazy to think about. Because I don't know. I don't think of this movie as like, yeah, this is like his first leading role.
I guess, yeah, because he technically wasn't like the star. He wasn't the lead in Old School, but that was really kind of where he blew up. And then this movie came out at the end of that same year, and then Anchorman came out in 2004.
We're back with another set of fresh trivia. Precursor question. Ben, do you know who this role was written for originally?
I did see, I saw it when I was looking at the...
Okay. All right. Well, I will alter the question then. All right. So, question number one.
What was it written for? I want to know.
Will Ferrell's character was originally written for Jim Carrey.
But
there was
it was written for I read Jim Carrey, and then I also read Chris Farley.
All right, we will have to find another trivia question.
Oh shit, my bad.
No, you're good.
I feel like a Jim Carrey or Chris Farley would be okay, I guess. But
I could
Jim
see Chris
Carrey
Farley doing it, and like I couldn't see him by the time 2003 rolled around, where he was kind of in a rougher shape. But I could see like Tommy Boy era Chris Farley doing this.
Jim Carrey feels like it'd be pretty. If you think this was over the top, man, that would have been like. I feel like that would have been borderline insufferable.
Yeah, yeah. I think Chris Farley's I feel like would have been a lot more. I don't know. I just think it would have been a lot more of like the physical type comedy, and then just the idea of he's a complete moron.
Yeah.
I
Because
could
I
see it
think part of the
fitting very
charm,
well, but
yeah, part of the charm in this movie for me is how I think naive and like likable Will Ferrell's character is as Elf. Like, even though he is not in the know because he's, he didn't grow up in this society, like, you still feel for him and want him to like want him to succeed and want him to and people to be nice to him and all that. But I feel like if you're doing like a Jim Carrey type guy, I feel like you're kind of like, this guy kind of sucks.
I kind of don't want this guy to succeed.
kind of
This guy's kind
kind
of
of
an
want this guy to
asshole.
go back to the North Pole.
Ugh. Maybe instead of walking back to the North Pole, he can jump off this bridge.
I was thinking of making that joke, but I was like, maybe that's a little too much.
Is it towing the line? Is it? You know what?
Maybe he should jump.
I'll throw it out there. It can get cut.
Maybe
if it
cut
needs
that,
to,
cut
but-
that.
All right.
Anyway, what trivia
All right.
do you have?
All right. So now that
Ross.
Ben burned that trivia question for me. So Gimbel's was a real department store.
Oh.
What year did the now defunct Gimbel's go out of business? Was it 1987, 1994, 2000, or 2003?
Huh. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't put any dates in there until after the movie, because I maybe would have thought that, but I guess it makes sense they'd pick a store that can't sue them. I'm going to go at the 80s, I guess.
I'm gonna go with 2000.
The answer is 1987.
Nice.
So 1 point to Cam.
Wasn't there a toy store, like one of the famous toy stores in New York, that just closed? Like, I was gonna say within the last couple of years, but it might have been closer to like in the last decade or so.
Do you have a Toys R Us?
No, there was one of the famous, like,
FAO Schwartz?
maybe that was it.
I don't know about FAO Schwartz. I know Macy's bought Toys R Us.
FAO Schwartz acquired, or Toys R Us acquired them in 2009, and in 2015 they permanently closed the store on Fifth Avenue, which was like the famous. I guess someone else bought the brand and opened one at 30 Rock. Huh. Yeah, I just didn't. Because I know FAO Schwartz was like the famous one with like the big, like, I think in the movie Big, where he plays like the piano with like
Yeah,
the standing piano. It was there, and I'd remembered reading it closed. I never heard about them reopening though. I have to check that out.
This is question number 2. Cameron has 1 point. Ben has 0. Walter Hobbs lives in the same apartment complex as a character from what famous 80s film? Is it Raging Bull, Ghostbusters, Hannah and Her Sisters, or Harry Met Sally?
Oh. Huh.
This would be like the exterior apartment building
Yeah.
is the same building used in another film.
I'm gonna go with the Ghostbusters, I guess. Do you have a specific character from these movies? Or no, you just...
Not.
Nah, I guess
not-
that gives it away.
Well, for the actual answer, I do.
yeah.
'cause I
Well,
thought-
right.
I thought the same thing you thought, Cam. I also thought it
You
was
can rock
Ghostbusters.
with me on Ghostbusters.
Is it Is it the one that, like, when Bill Murray goes to that lady's
That's what I was
apartment,
wondering. Yeah,
and then
that's what I was thinking.
who is it? Lewis that lives across the hall.
Yeah, Dana Barrett from Ghostbusters. Yes. So, Cameron
it is that?
Yes. So Cameron has 2. Ben
Nice.
has 1.
That's interesting. It's an interesting fact.
All right. So last one. We'll see where it goes here. So Buddy's long belch after he drinks the 2-liter of Coke was not recorded by Will Ferrell. It was recorded by a famous voice actor, Maurice LaMarche. What show
Ben knows
is
who this fucking
Maurice
guy is,
LaMarche
goddammit.
famous for voice acting in? Is it
Ooh.
Pinky and the Brain, Fairly Odd Parents, King of the Hill, or Doug?
I mean, I'm gonna go King of the Hill.
Ooh, no, he's the voice of the brain in Pinky and the Brain. He's also the voice of Kif in Futurama. He does a lot of voiceover. He does a lot of stuff that ever has involved Orson Welles. He does a really good Orson Welles. Actually, trivia fact on the trivia question, in the movie Ed Wood with I think that was the Johnny Depp movie. I can't remember if Tim Burton directed that movie or not, but
Yeah, he did.
so that movie, in that movie, oh god, now I'm blanking on names as I'm about to drop trivia knowledge. Who's the guy in Full Metal Jacket? Why can I not remember his name? Kingpin in the Marvel universe.
Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yes, so Vincent, he played Orson Welles, but Maurice LaMarche actually did all of his voiceover in the movie.
Oh,
Interesting. Well, that leads us to our tiebreaker. Closest wins it. When Buddy the Elf first goes to the Empire State Building, he gets in the elevator with random Joe and he hits a button on the elevator panel. He actually hits all of them. What is the first button that he hits on the elevator panel?
I'm going to say like 87.
I was going to say like 45.
Ooh, okay.
You have to do some math on this?
Yes. You said 87, Cam?
Yeah. Was it in the 60s? Is that why you got to do math on it?
And then what'd you say, Ben?
45.
It is Ben by 4.
What is the number?
By 4 points.
God
it is
damn
the
it.
64th floor. So Ben
I'm not
wins
proud of
it.
it.
But come from behind win here. The fourth quarter, 3 minutes on the clock. Ben comes back. Walk off.
The people are glad to hear I won the trivia, and then they're not going to be glad that I won the trivia in a couple minutes, I think.
Oh, because of his review. Yeah, that makes sense. We can just cut the reviews.
Well, that's
They
the
all love
episode.
the
Have a good one.
I'll give mine, and then you guys can give yours. And
So this week I watched
we will
House.
cut yours.
It was great.
We'd all seen this film before, so you're not going to get any fresh ratings, but you're going to get nostalgia ratings and then an updated rating from each of us. So, Cameron, you want to kick it off?
No, I should go last. Let's end it on a positive note.
I'll go first. I've seen this movie, obviously I've not seen it for a majority of my life, but now having seen it multiple times, going in, I gave it a 6. Going out, I'm going to give it a 6. It's all right. I don't hate it, but I think it's a fine Christmas movie. Once again, Cam said, if you don't like this, you may just not like Christmas movies, or and maybe that's just me. Christmas movies are fine. I'm excited to be able to share them with my daughter and have her experience this for the first time, because I feel like and maybe this is something I missed out on because I didn't see them all when I was younger, but I feel like maybe when you watch them as a kid and in your formative years, you're going to really enjoy and get the appreciation for them more so than somebody who's watching them now when you're 27. I think when I saw Elf, probably you're gonna appreciate the movie a lot more. You're gonna get that wonder, and you're gonna hold that a lot closer to your heart. I don't love the over the top, and maybe that's just me. Not the biggest Will Ferrell fan, but it's an alright movie. Add it to your Christmas rotation if you haven't seen it, and just give it a view. It's worth the watch.
I think I'm in a similar boat where I did not watch this. I guess, yeah, I would say in formative time. I saw this movie at a later date. Like I said, I think when I was a freshman or sophomore in college. I gave it a 6. I remembered it being okay. It's never really lived up to the hype for me. But again, it could just be because of when I saw it, and then, by the time I'd seen it, it's one of those movies where, like we said, it did permeate a lot. And so maybe it was just one of those things where, instead of enjoying the joke, it was more oh, that's where this is from. But, this joke's been ran completely into the ground by now. So by the time I'm seeing it, it's like, yeah, okay, haha, I get it. Now I'm in on it too. Versus it being something that I could see and quote and understand more, I guess. On a rewatch, I think it's mid. I left it at a 6. Like I understand it being a part of a Christmas movie viewing or a yearly tradition type movie. I just don't. It's not a movie I love. It's not. I don't think it's great. Yeah. I that being said, if it's a formative time, check it out. If you haven't ever seen it, I think it's definitely worth watching. Even if not just to get some of the references and understand some things. But I personally just don't love it.
I'm going to go last and save you all. It's a great movie, great Christmas movie. Not even a fan of Christmas movies that much, but as a Christmas movie, I think this is a 10 out of 10. I'm not going to rate it a 10 out of 10 because, like, this is more of like broad rating. But I am going to go 8 out of 10. I think it's a really fun movie. I think Will Ferrell does a really good job playing this elf who I think is hard to thread. Like, I know you guys kind of found it annoying, but kind of trying to thread annoying versus likable in, this elf that's found himself thrust into our society. I think also James Caan plays like the straight man really well throughout the movie. I think that, and he kind of redeems himself near the end, which I think is great. And as I've said a couple times, this is, in my opinion, this is like this is our Christmas story. This is the one that is going to be played on repeat forever until we die, probably. That's my take on it. I rated it an 8 out of 10 before seeing it. Still an 8 out of 10. As a Christmas movie, it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
If you want to make yourself a New York sour, check out the show notes below. Hit up the Casker links. Get some alcohol delivered directly to your door, and send us a picture when you make one. We want to see your alcohol. We want to see your cocktails, and we'll share them. Check out our new website, www.cocktailsandclassicspod.com, and you can see all the episodes that we've done over there. Check out all we have to offer. Hit up our Instagram at cocktailsandclassicspod. Watch Elf on Max as a recording. Share us with your friends and family. Leave a review wherever you listen, and a rating really helps us out. And check us out next time. And as always, watch responsibly.
Real quick to edit in, I doubt it actually ever happened, but if by some miracle we made anybody's Spotify Wrapped, big thank you.
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool to see if you've got it. If we're there, send us some pics of it because I want to see it.
Ben wants
you post
to
it
see
to your
Spotify
story.
Wrapped.
We'll repost it from our Instagram.
Yes.
So
tag
That's what
us.
the kids do.
Fun. We'll reshare it on Facebook. Just kidding. We're not doing that.